The Crew 3 is coming, but what is it and when can we expect it? The Crew has become one of my absolute favorite franchises very, very quickly, I may add. We go all the way back, but that's not why we're here. RPG elements and long-term updates are one of the reasons why I remember this game so much. In fact, it was one of the games to first pioneer updating a heck of a lot on a console game. In fact, we're literally already in season 5 of The Crew 2. Like, year 5 of content is about to arrive. Well, that's next month, so we've got at least another year of content coming to this game. It's a lot of stuff. So when it comes to The Crew 3, what do we actually know? Once again, our friendly neighborhood leaker, Tom Henderson, has some details for us. He's saying that, from what he heard, they weren't particularly happy with The Crew 2 and are just overhauling everything, so it's a potential reboot. So I'm not sure that'll be the case, considering The Crew 2, from what we know, is literally hit 30 million players. Granted, it was accessible for free at some point, but 30 million is still an incredible feat. There were actually some leaked pictures from Project Orlando, which is supposedly the name of the game currently. However, they were pulled, and so we're not going to show them because that would be suicide. But what we do know is that the game is currently, at least, set in Hawaii, which is, I said Hawaii, which is super exciting if you're a Test Drive fan, because talk about the ultimate throwback. That is gonna be beautiful. I cannot wait to see what that looks like. So yes, Tom Henderson says or suggests that they are overhauling the game, which sounds like an incredible feat. I'm genuinely curious as to what this is. I mean, it's been a long time since the previous Crew game did release, but the game's been getting constant updates. Obviously, it doesn't say much specifically about what they're planning to change. Like, are they changing how the cars drive, or are they talking about scrapping the engine and starting over? Because that sounds like a heck of a lot of work. I don't imagine that's going to be the case. However, he said they weren't happy, so they're going to change the things that they weren't happy with. That's kind of what you would do with a sequel anyway. The views on the Crew games have always been a little bit mixed, to say the least, and I can understand why. It's a bit sharp around the edges. The Crew 2 less so. They were definitely trying to go for that Forza Horizon smoothness, but the thing is, they've still got so much content in this game that it's almost impossible for them to have that level of smoothness. And it's about a balance. That's why, like, Need for Speed is rough on the edges, but to be honest, I enjoy it quite a bit more. But will they go more the way of the first game with the nitty-gritty, kind of dark side of street racing and the police? Or are they going to stay with the Crew 2 and do the happy festival thing, but a little bit more reality in there with some characters that you don't just want to shoot yourself when you listen to? Supposedly, there's going to be a brand new driving engine is another part of the leak, which again doesn't surprise me because Ivory Tower is not a stranger to basically changing the handling every bloody update. It is confusing at times, to say the least, and so hopefully they've got it right this time, because I would like a little bit more depth, but at the same time, I do like my just arcade feel. It feels good now, just maybe a bit too stiff. Now, there's also multiple mentions throughout multiple articles about 100 player events, which just sounds pretty insane to think about. 100 player events in a racing game. Has that ever been done before? That's just mental. The Crew obviously had the drop-in, drop-out multiplayer inspired by Test Drive, because people that worked on Test Drive worked on this. And so 100 players sounds genuinely bonkers, but if it was next-gen only and PC, obviously, does that sound as bonkers, considering we have 128 players in Battlefield? And, well, we don't know. I've heard that it's not gone particularly well there, but now this is all ignoring this very video here, which they literally told us that the Crew 2 is about to get a major update. In fact, I believe it's next month, a new visual update for the Crew, including 60 frames a second and new lighting. Unfortunately, those are all the shots we've got, but hopefully we'll see a little bit more of it, well, very soon, because the update's surely coming out soon. Let me get this straight. This is clearly not a graphics update. It's just a lighting update, which, to be fair, some of the things we've seen with the events, the special lighting, honestly, they kind of looked better than the base game. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Crew 3, not the Crew 2. However, you know, you should check the game out. It's pretty cool. So that's what we know. That's pretty much everything we know, which is a shame because I like the Crew. I want more. Give me more. So that's what we can expect but when can we expect it? So unfortunately, Ubisoft didn't have any presence at any recent events, like at all. There was no Assassin's Creed, nothing, but it's pretty certain Ubisoft has a whole bunch of firepower ready to go out. They're actually giving their developers more time, which is probably because they got into trouble recently and all those things. However, it's good for the games. That's what we want to see. More time for the games and no rush to really get them out. That's amazing. This is a dream. And that's what I really like, is that they're not just shoveling these things out and they're giving them time. Nonetheless, in our case, The Crew 3 is clearly getting the time it deserves. It's still going. Unfortunately, Ubisoft is harder to track with their movements. EA usually makes it pretty obvious, or they tell you like 2-3 months beforehand, and it's pretty obvious by patterns. And Ubisoft, I have literally no idea, because the game doesn't come out every 2 years like Need for Speed, or every year like Forza. We genuinely have nothing to go on other than previous release dates that could kind of give us an idea where they're willing to release the game. However, I think the first game came out in like December, which is such a weird release date, but it clearly works because we got a second one. 2 companies we know are planning to have events in July, which would tell us a bit more information about their games. PlayStation is having one, supposedly, probably it will end up being the case. And Nikon Connect is the next one, which is where we will expect to see test drives. So will they show it before test drive or after? It's going to be the question, actually. These are really head-butting games because both of the leads of these games both worked on Test Drive Unlimited back in the day. So this is a big dogfight that's about to happen. For example, you can see some incredible titles they have here. I think one of them is dead, which is my favorite there, which is Watch Dogs. It's a shame. Anyway, they mentioned earlier in the year that they would not be having an Ubisoft Forward event. They previously held them in September and June, which is, well, quite good, actually. There's quite a lot of gamesness there, but that pretty much says that we could see another one in September, or we could really just see one in July or August. Basically, there's a lot of dates we could see one. I'm hoping July. Essentially, Ubisoft dates are a late E3 or a late Gamescom, or during those events. Again, there's really not much to go on here, so essentially we might see it soon, but we'll likely see it this year, because Ubisoft's not going to not have an event, surely. Competition is huge for The Crew 3 if it releases this year. It's actually been lessening and lessening because, you know, test drive has gone into next year. I made a note because I genuinely... Need for Speed in November this year. Expansion 2 of Horizon? Well, Expansion 2 of Horizon is likely again. Need for Speed, September, October, November. Forza Motorsport? Well, that's gone over to March next year. And then Test Drive will probably launch later in the year. That kind of leaves November time open for a racing game at the end of next year. That would be a prime spot if you think about it. And of course, the Crew 2's support has been extended to literally July next year. So that's kind of suspiciously good timing, you know? But I'm going to say there's 2 possible dates as to when we will get the game. This is just thought. This is what I'm guessing. This is calculated guesses. December 2022 is my possible early release, or summer 2023 is my other one. Those are the 2 dates that I'm thinking, or time. This is the time window I'm thinking of. Probably not in the middle, but around them. Again, there's not much to go on, but honestly, that sounds about right. And the worst possible case is that we get at the end of 2023, which would be a good filler gap, considering that Motorsport's not coming out that year, Horizon's not coming out that year, Need for Speed's not coming out that year. To me, that just makes sense. So I might have not convinced them to delay the game, so I apologize. Since we know so little about this game, we've seen leaks of Need for Speed, and we've seen actual footage of how the game runs with Forza on PC. We've seen no test drive yet, and test drive has a release date of 23, so... But that's why my guess is so broad. That's all the information we have to go on, which is not a lot. Ubisoft has a lot of large profile games to release, including their own. We're completely ignoring the fact that there's so many games in the pipelines ready to be released or close to being released. Are you looking forward to The Crew 3? What do you want The Crew 3 to be? Will it be your first? When do you expect to see it? Let's have a conversation down in the comments. Smash like, subscribe if you are new, and let's hope we get it sometime soon, because I'm itching. Until next time, peace.